Hi, my name is Sherman McRae and I work for FamilyTreeDNA, and my presentation today is titled Beyond Hadrian's Wall, Discovering Yorkshire's African Past. The story of the Moors at Hadrian's Wall represents one of history's most fascinating examples of ancient migration and cultural exchange, a military deployment that potentially left a genetic legacy detectable nearly 2 millennia later. Their journey from North African provinces to the northernmost edge of the Roman Empire provides crucial context for the genetic analysis we'll explore using the Family Tree DNA database. First, we'll take a look at Emperor Hadrian. He was known as Emperor Hadrian, and he ruled the Roman Empire during a pivotal period of consolidation and cultural flourishing. He was born in modern-day Spain to a family with Italian roots and became a ward of his relative, the future Emperor Trajan, after being orphaned at the age of 10. So Emperor Hadrian ruled between 76 and 138 CE. And some of his accomplishments were that he built a 73-mile barrier in northern Britain, he rebuilt the Pantheon, and he codified Roman law through perpetual edict. Hadrian's Wall was a monumental defensive fortification built by the Romans in northern Britain beginning around 122 CE during the reign of Emperor Hadrian, stretching 73 miles from coast to coast across the narrowest part of northern England, from Wallsend in the east to Bowness on Solway in the west. It marked the northernmost frontier of the Roman Empire in Britain. Prior to their deployment in Britain, Moorish units had served the Roman Empire in various other regions, including Germania and the Danubian provinces. While specific details of their duties in daily life at Hadrian's Wall remains largely speculative, their presence there is significant. It exemplifies the Roman military's ethnic diversity and underscores the complex, multicultural nature of the empire frontier defenses. The Moors' service at this remote outpost highlights Rome's practice of strategically positioning troops from distant provinces to maintain control over its vast territories. Archaeological evidence confirmed the Moors' presence at Hadrian's Wall, most notably through a 4th century CE inscription discovered near modern-day Berg by Sands in Cumbria. This epigraphic record mentions a Moorish unit, a unit presumably named after Emperor Marcus Aurelius. The existence of this Moorish contingent is further corroborated by a Roman administrative document detailing military units and civil offices throughout the empire. The Aurelian Moors were raised in North African provinces of the Roman Empire, which comprised of modern-day Morocco, Libya, Tunisia, and Algeria, and they were stationed at the modern-day Berg by Sands in Cumbria. They were probably named after Emperor Marcus Aurelius, who ruled Rome between 121 and 180, and this unit was believed to be comprised of about 500 soldiers. The North African soldiers who served along Hadrian's Wall came primarily from what the Romans called Mauritania, which comprised of parts of modern-day Morocco and Algeria in North Africa. The genetic evidence for African ancestry in Yorkshire emerged in 2007 when Dr. Turi King's team identified a Yorkshire family carrying haplogroup AM31, the oldest known branch of the human Y DNA tree, which is typically found only in West African populations. This lineage was traced to an ancestor living in Yorkshire around 1780. The carrier displayed a typical European appearance and had no knowledge of African ancestry, suggesting long-term integration into local population. Later research conducted in 2015 further refined the subclade to APH436 And this remarkable discovery, the first documented African Y-DNA in indigenous British lineage, provides potential genetic evidence for historical African presence in Britain, possibly dating back to Roman times. This screenshot provides a layout and the haplogroups that were discovered within Professor King's study. And at the top in red, that's where you'll see the A haplogroup. Next, we'll look at the African presence in Britain from a historical context. And so you had, starting at the Roman, within the Roman area, you had the first documented Africans in northern Britain, where you had a division of the Moors stationed at Hadrian's Wall. You also had in the 9th century, some historians suggested that Vikings may have brought North Africans into Britain. And next, during the 16th century, that's where you had the first wave of West Africans being brought into Britain around 1555. And during that time, African servants, musicians, and slaves were common. And by the 18th century, there was an estimated 10,000 black people in Britain, and most of them lived in London. And so there were other archaeological and historical evidence confirming African presence at Hadrian's Wall. And so you have evidence from inscriptions, military diplomas, and burials, which indicated North African soldiers were stationed in that region. The discovery of the Ivory Bangle lady reveals the presence of a high-status North African woman buried in York around 350 to 400 CE with luxury grave goods including distinctive ivory bracelets and glass jewelry. And there were also Christian inscriptions. Scientific analysis of her remains through isotope analysis confirmed her North African origins while demonstrating she enjoyed a really wealth status and a protein-rich diet. This remarkable archaeological find challenges previous assumptions about ethnic minorities in Roman Britain, showing that people of African descent held respected positions in Roman provincial society. Her burial site, now housed in the Yorkshire Museum, represents tangible evidence of Africa's historical influence and presence throughout European history, predating modern conceptions of race and nationality by over 1,600 years. The Beachy head lady, discovered in East Sussex and dating to around 200 and 250 CE, was a young woman, roughly 20 to 25, of sub-Saharan African ancestry who lived during Roman Britain. Osteological analysis of her skull confirmed her African heritage, while isotope analysis of her teeth suggested she may have grown up in eastern Mediterranean, possibly around Cyprus. She received a standard Roman burial with grave goods, indicating she was an integrated member of her community. This ancient A lineage is still largely undetected, so it's still kind of rare. And so roughly about 4% of our Y-DNA testers from Mali and about 2% of the testers from Guinea actually have this haplotype. And what we're looking at here is the phylogenetic breakdown, just kind of showing you how old this lineage really is. And so if you start at number 4, that's Y chromosome atom. And so if you go up to the 1, that kind of shows you the evolution of this haplogroup. And so it also shows you a time estimate as well also. And just a brief history of AM31. The AM31 paternal line was formed when it branched off from the ancestor V168 and the rest of humankind about 126,000 BCE. And so AM31, this man probably lived or was born around 9700 BCE. And so this is a time tree look for the phylogenetic breakdown. And so if you start all the way to the left, that would be Y chromosome atom. And if you go down, you'll be able to follow this AM31 lineage highlighted in orange. And so this is a really rare and ancient, deep ancient African lineage as shown by the screenshot, dating back hundreds of thousands of years. And so this is another time tree screenshot just showing how deep this ancient Y-DNA lineage goes back. It's really at the root of humanity. So if you start flowing to the right a little bit, once you get around CT and DE haplogroups, that's when people start to migrate outside of Africa and populate the world. Next, we're going to start tracking this Moorish lineage. And what we're showing here on the screenshot is two men from Britain descending from sharing a common ancestor at APH 436. It's really an ancient connection, sharing a common ancestor born around 600 CE. This screenshot shows testers from both Finland and Sweden, all sharing a common ancestor who was born around 1170 CE. This screenshot shows a different view where you can see where we place the Africans in Yorkshire, and we have our modern day Y-DNA testers from the FamilyTreeDNA database, and you can see that they all descend where they share a common ancestor. Everyone descends from a man we call APH 241, and when we initially uploaded the data, the TMRCA was around 150 CE as shown on the left screenshot, but over the course of time, new test results have came in and we've adjusted that estimate, but it still is consistent with the men being born or descendant from Moors in Europe during that time period. And let's take a deeper dive into the Moorish soldiers' like direct origins, the Senegambia and Mali connection. Genetic analysis suggests that the Moors' direct paternal origins would have been from the Senegambia region of West Africa. And here you see Senegal at the top, Guinea at the bottom, and so they would have been from around the Mali region of Africa. And so now we're comparing their DNA to ancient DNA samples, and here they're matching loads of samples from Guinea. And so the screenshot is from our FamilyTreeDNA time tree, where it's still showing that they're matching samples, academic samples from Guinea. And you can see the Africans in Yorkshire down at the bottom, and they will connect at AY32411 in the top left. That will be the common ancestor. The genetic evidence we examine today provides compelling support for Professor Turi King's theory that African Y-DNA signatures found in Yorkshire likely originated with Moorish soldiers stationed in Roman Britain. Through our analysis, we've seen Y-DNA haplogroups consistent with West African origins, specifically the Senegambia region. We've also seen timing that aligns with the Roman occupation of Britain and distribution patterns matching historical records of military deployments. And lastly, we've also seen lineages that spread beyond Britain into multiple European countries. This research demonstrates that Britain's multicultural history isn't just written in historical texts, but encoded in the DNA of the people living today. What was once speculation about the presence of African soldiers in Roman Yorkshire now has tangible genetic evidence. As more people participate in genetic testing and our analytical methods improve, we can expect to uncover additional evidence of these ancient connections. Each new sample adds another piece to this remarkable puzzle that connects people across time and geography. What began as scattered historical references to Moorish soldiers has now been validated through our most personal historical record of all, our DNA. And my name is Sherman McRae, and I greatly appreciate you taking the time to view my presentation. Take care.